Path of healing is an endless journey. And it's not an endless journey necessarily because it's hard, which at times it is. But it's an endless journey because you will always find another layer within yourself that needs to be healed. Every time you think you found the layer, the root layer, there's always something else in some other area. It may not even be the root that you have not worked on yet. There's always another layer in the path of healing. And that's what we're going to be exploring today. What people aren't told about the path of healing. See, the path of healing often starts far before the first moment that we decide to take the first step. Healing begins before we even actually notice internally that we need to start the path of healing. We've all had a moment in our life where we just felt wrong in our body or wrong in our situation. Just a moment where things just don't feel right and you're not really sure why. You're not really sure why because you don't know how to make sense of what is moving through you. You don't know how to articulate it. You don't know how to explain what is going on within you or outside of you. What exactly is causing this moment of distortion, this moment of things not feeling right, things just being off, imbalanced, whether in your situation or in your body. It always starts with a moment, and then that moment seems to fade. We seem to forget about it. We get caught back in the flow of life that was occurring. Before we had that moment, we were flowing down with the rapids, and then we became a water droplet and just had a second where, wow, this is different. I'm noticing something here. And then we land back in and we start flowing with the rest of our being. It always starts like that. It always starts with a glimpse. You get your first glimpse, and then in time, you get another glimpse, and then it fades. You get another glimpse, and it fades. And then you end up internalizing this glimpse that you've seen over and over again, and you realize, okay, this feeling, I recognize this feeling now. This feeling of something being not right. This feeling of something being wrong. I felt it in this situation again and again. I have felt it in this social dynamic again and again. I have felt pain in this area of my body after doing this thing again and again that keeps occurring maybe in different sections of my life that makes me feel off. Okay, now we have something to work with, right? When healing is first occurring, when it's first arising within you, within your field of energy, first arriving into your thoughts, none of us really ever just collapse into illness, whether it is a mental illness or a physical bodily sensation illness, right? It's never just sudden. It is never just sudden. You see, because that collapse that you experience, whether it is mental or physical, it did not just collapse, okay? When you see a waterfall, that waterfall did not just explode into a massive rush of energy, okay? That waterfall was cultivated very slowly from a rain cloud falling to the earth and collecting and reaching an area where it gathers and where it begins to flow with gravity. And that water maybe picks up pace. And then when it reaches the end of the road, it then explodes into a massive rush of energy. You see, that massive rush of energy is a cultivation of all of the buildup that occurred. The pressure that was built of the mass of water reaching an area where it had the ability to allow gravity to bring its kinetic energy into manifestation. It doesn't just happen out of nowhere. It always happens in waves. You get that little hint again and again, that little hint of pain again and again, and oftentimes we ignore that pain. When I started my healing journey, it began when I was around 16 years old. When I was 16, I had been doing drugs for about 2 years. I didn't know why I was doing the drug, but at the time, I didn't see this. Very depressed, and I did not feel like myself. I didn't feel safe in my body, and I didn't know why. I didn't feel like I was the truth of who Brandon is. I had no idea who I was, and I didn't know why I was suffering through the world, why I was experiencing so much pain through my days. You see, it took around 3 years of me using drugs to, at first what I thought I was doing with the drugs was to feel happy. But what I was really doing was masking the pain that I was feeling. And what I want you to know is drugs for me may be something different for you. Drugs for me may be a relationship for you. Drugs for me may be working for you. Drugs for me could be making money for you. Drugs to me could be you doing sports. Drugs for me it could literally be anything. It is a symbol. Okay? That thing in your life is a symbol, right? Drugs was me reacting to my pain, looking for an escape from the reality of my unhappiness in my life. The drugs were something that I thought I was using to feel complete, okay? You would be using, maybe you're using a relationship to feel complete. Maybe you're using a job to feel complete. Maybe you're using a path to feel complete. Maybe you're using your path to get that job, that path to go to school, that path to get that person as your escape to your reality of the pain that you're feeling inside and that you don't know why. So you begin grasping at things to mask the pain that you are feeling on the inside and not deal with the roots of the problems that I was facing, the roots of why I felt so terrible and awful in my body and in myself and in my life. Perhaps you have been doing the same thing. Perhaps you have been using something to mask the pain in your life and to run from that pain instead of dealing with that pain and facing it head on, to begin doing that inner search to reveal these things that we're hiding from ourselves. Right, so healing actually begins when those first trickles of water start to fall into that pond, into that lake, into that stream. When that stream begins to build, that is when the journey of healing truly begins. Because you see, the crash is a part of that same process, and the recovery is a part of the same process. And the rain will fall again to reveal the next layer, right? To reveal the next build-up, the next thing that needs to be looked at. It's a cycle. It happens again and again. And whether it's revealing the same thing to you again and again, or something different, well, that's something that can be very confusing, right? That's something I am going to be continuously figuring out, because I don't have everything figured out. I only have figured out what I've figured out in my life so far. I am only 24, and I have gone through some significant cycles of healing so far in my life. But I only know what I've experienced. I can only truly tell you what I've experienced. Everything else is just words. Maybe one day I can use some other words to express to you some other truths about the path of healing, but I can only express to you now what I've truly experienced myself on my own journey. And I can tell you at the beginning, it is very confusing. Very, very confusing, because of all of these layers, all these cycles within the journey of healing that start really from the moment you're birthed. From the moment you're born in this world, your path of healing begins. Because from the moment you're born, you're going to have experiences that scar you physically and scar you mentally as a child and going forward even. But mostly as a child, when you do not have any system of conscious behavior to deal with the scars that are being lashed on you, right? And you cannot remember all of the layers of the scars that you have had to face. And what everyone has faced is different. But everybody from the moment they're born has suffered from pain, has suffered from trauma. And there are so many layers of pain and trauma in your life that the entire path is about the healing. And the entire path is confusing because of all of these layers of the things that have happened in your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that have scarred you in ways that your body and mind cannot forget, even if consciously you're not aware of what's happening, even if consciously you're not aware of why you're experiencing the things that you are. Subconsciously, there are reasons why you feel the way you do. Maybe within your body, subconsciously, there are reasons being stored that you do not know of, you're not aware of. Because stress and chemical signals that are negative and positive show in the body and are held in the body. For example, most illnesses, right, physical, mental, emotional, are caused by stress buildup and that buildup being held in tension for very, very, very long periods of time. That stress and they're usually psychological, right? They're psychologically released, and that causes stress and tension to be held in the body in certain areas. Different people have different areas, whatever you have is going to be maybe different from the next person, but we're all inevitably holding stress and pain in our body, which is causing maybe problems in our heart or our liver or our lungs or our stomach or our arms or our legs and our muscles and our bones and our joints. That is a result of stress and other hormones that we are releasing through our emotional state that is being built on the perspectives we have on the world, that is also built on the traumas, the scars of our life, both good and bad, right? So those scars in our life, this karma of our life, these samskaras of our life are essentially built from moments in our life where our emotional state was very powerfully conducive to an experience that we were having, bad or good, right? So these bad experiences, these really terrible experiences, we tend to avoid, right? So the reason the path to healing begins, it's so confusing and we don't know what our problem is because we tend to want to avoid the pain, avoid what's uncomfortable, and attach to the good things, the happy things, the things that gave us good emotional signals, because we want to cultivate good feelings in our body. We want to protect ourselves, right? Especially when we're young and we don't know why things are happening. We want to ignore anything bad that's happening and go to the things that are giving us a good reaction from the outside world giving us a good reaction, therefore giving our internal space a better reaction than maybe the alternative, right? And we then mask those things by attaching and doing the things that give us good reactions from the outside world. So for a long period of time, we're going to have trouble understanding what exactly our pain is coming from because of all of the layers of pain that we have had that have been covered by attaching to something good, right? So every time there was a new pain or repeat situation in your life, you covered it by grasping at something that made you feel good. And when the next bad thing came and covered that good thing, you immediately covered it with another good thing or a perceived good thing. You keep covering up that bad thing, right, in your life to hide the bad thing so you don't need to experience. And this is a habit that even when you begin to want to uncover these patterns, these things that you kept covering, all these roots to all of your problems, even when you want to begin uncovering them, your mind unconsciously keeps on doing it. Your body keeps on doing it just because that's the conditioning, right? That's the training part. That's the conditioned part. We've been doing it so long, we don't realize that is what we're doing, right? And even after we begin to go down the process of regulating ourselves and allowing those hidden parts of ourselves to reveal themselves, right? Because it's really a matter of building yourself in a way, right? Setting your mind and your body's reactions to turn into ways that you respond in order to allow your body to feel safe enough to reveal these hidden layers, right? Even after you begin the process of revealing these layers or allowing your body and your mind to reveal these layers that you've hidden from yourself through this conditioning, once you begin to do that enough to the point where you can step back and begin to see things with clarity, when you begin to see things with clarity, you also begin to see that it doesn't just end there, right? Your is not your The conditioning that you went through goes back to the beginning of all life, to the beginning of everything. The cycle of this has been going on, right? So no matter where you are in your journey, whether you're looking internally or you're researching, you're reading books, you're looking for knowledge, ancient wisdom, coming back to yourself, going back to the knowledge, like, I've been there, I've been doing this. But no matter how long you do this, if you think you're gonna reach the final layer, you might want to give up, because there's always going to be something else you can do to improve your diet, to improve your health, to improve your lifestyle, to improve your relationships, to improve the way you are reacting or responding in your life, to improve the way you self-attune yourself, the way you self-regulate. There's always a way, if you're gonna meditate to self-regulate, there's always a deeper or a deepening of the meditation. There's always a deepening of the way you do yoga. There's always a deepening of the way you play music. There's always a deepening of the way you work, of the way you think about life, of the way you do or see or view or feel anything. There's always another layer. No matter where you go, there's always another layer. And even in just knowledge, you will, if you found this spiritual teacher, you found this health teacher, you found this teacher, there is another layer. There is another layer, right? Where they got their information came from somewhere else, which came from somewhere else, which came from somewhere else, which came from somewhere else. And where they got their information and what they're telling you is also going to be an amalgamation of all the information that they have intaken and that they believe, right? Now, you can get relatively close to truth, because what I have found is that truth revolves around itself, right? I can find many spiritual teachers or many people talking about how to heal or many people talking about anything, and I can find that they're really all talking about the same thing in very different ways. But that can be very confusing. That can be very, very confusing, because they might be talking about all the same things in different ways, but the fact that they're talking about it in different ways means that they're talking about it using different words, which means different expressions, different resonance, and different people are going to understand it based off of the way that they see and view the world, right? But all the paths are the same. They just look a lot different. And to peel your way back to find the way in another person's way is not going to work, because your way and your path is your path. That's what makes it you and your path, right? We're all different, and I can only walk my path, and you can only walk your path. You can only walk your path. I may be able to help you walk your path by sharing with you aspects of my path, but ultimately you need to walk your path, and you need to find the path that will unfold your layers, which is just going to be the path that you walk, because you're you. You're here right now on the path of healing, because you were born and you were scarred in your life, and you're healing and you're living and you're learning and you're loving. You're here on a path, and only you can walk your path. Your path is going to look different from everybody else's, but you will unveil all of your layers that you need to unveil in this lifetime. I can guarantee you that in this lifetime, you are going to unveil whatever layers you were meant to in this lifetime. So you can relax on that, because you're going to be pulled to whatever information you need to hear, right? So the path that you're pulling from may not be the path that you're walking, okay? I can pull my knowledge from the path of Buddhism or Taoism or the Vedic texts and yogic, teachers or my therapist, okay? Who I don't talk to recently, but my therapist or friends or whatever, right? As long as it resonates with my truth, right? Which means that information has a pull on me and my person, right? Who I am, which is the awareness in my body, is pulled towards these things without attachment, without wanting to cover up anything, right? Without trying to hide anything. I'm being pulled towards things, towards concepts that resonate to me as the truth of vibration and the truth of what is life and what is now. The truth of now, right? The truth of what is. And that's going to be different for you, right? Everything is going to be different for everyone. What guides you along that path. So that is why this is going to be an endless journey, because you can get help from all these people, but the way that layer is going to reveal itself is through you and your path. And where that knowledge comes from is buried in the history of everyone's lives. What's important is that all the paths are the same. You just need to walk your path. Because if you don't walk your path, then you may not reach what you're looking to reach in this lifetime. But if you walk your path, and you uncover your layers, you will reach what you need to reach in this lifetime. I guarantee it. On whatever level you need to reach it, you will reach it as long as you walk your path and unveil your layers. Because you won't unveil all of the layers of life. You won't unveil all the layers, but you'll unveil what you need to unveil.